Hey, what's up? It's Valar. Hope everybody's doing awesome. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Couple updates before I get into it too. This patch is actually really cool. First reaction, my gut reaction, as most raid players, was not good to it. But after kind of digesting it a little bit and reading through it a couple times, I actually am excited about it. So that part's good. I quit the Sweet 18 challenge that I was taking part of because honestly, I don't have time. So I just wanted to be honest with that. This is my hobby, and I have full time work, a full time family, and a lot of other things going on where I just couldn't fit that in. And I've also felt Raid has been kind of stale recently. So that may be reflected in my content and everything too. Because look, I'm just being straightforward with people. I'm always straightforward with people, and I always will be. I'm a casual gamer. I'm not a hardcore, super competitive gamer. I just game because it's fun and I enjoy it. That's it. And I actually enjoy making videos as well. So when it becomes time where I don't feel like I enjoy it, I just sort of cut it off a little bit. So I've sort of been feeling that way with Raid. And I might take a big break from Raid until Doom Tower actually does come out. So I know I've been back and forth a lot. But I can't do more than one account. I have to be realistic with myself, and I've bitten off more than I can chew sometimes. So, that being said, there will be other game content besides Raid on this channel, because this channel is about me being a casual gamer that enjoys different type of games as far as hero collectors, all kind of stuff. So, and I don't take it too seriously. There's going to be some variety. If you don't like it, that's fine. No big deal. If you do, great. I really love it. Thank you so much. Anyway, all that crap out of the way, let's actually get into the 3.0 highlights, which after reading through it this second or third time here, like I said, I'm actually a lot more excited about. So Doom Tower's got 132 stages, 108 common floors, 12 boss floors, and 12 secret rooms. And before I get too far into it, there you do get champion fragments from normal would be epic champion fragments. So the Doom Tower champions who are epics, they're going to come from the normal campaign. And then the legendary champions are going to come from the hard, not campaign, the hard Doom Tower levels. And I heard something as well in the comments below by one of these community managers that said, you actually have to unlock certain champions first, if I read that correctly. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll just get into the stuff that we know for sure. So 108 common floors. And then as you go up, you can kind of see you get a little reward for progressing. And this looks like a secret room right here, right? So that's secret room 8. But the secret rooms have parameters behind them. Like you're going to have to do something like use only rares, use only one faction, use only one affinity, only attack champions. I think they have published a whole list of what they were before. So there's a lot of parameters here. And then this looks like a boss level. This looks like the Scarab guy or something here. Kind of a little bit hard to tell, but I think you get a chicken here. So I would imagine that's a boss level. Not 100% sure, but I'd imagine that's a boss level right there. Yeah, that makes sense. 80th floor. They're every 10 floors, so that would make sense that the 80th floor would be one, right? So every 10 floors. And then it's a month long. So you get a certain amount of keys, and then you do other activities in the game. I'm going to assume there's some tournaments and things like that to entice us to participate in those as well. One of the things I actually do like, because it's actually getting time consuming to play Raid, and that is another reason. I have not even focused on my main account at all. Quite a while. Just kind of let it go flat to a degree and just gear hoard and make a bunch of mules and things like that. But you get energy in these rewards too. That's good. So the more energy, the better, I feel like, with this stuff. Although this is actually a separate form of currency. We're using keys. Certain keys are the regular rooms and certain keys are the secret rooms. That type of stuff. And then it's going to be wave clearing, just like a dungeon or just like Faction Wars is, with bosses at every 10 floors. So in a sense, it's kind of very similar to Faction Wars. It's just longer. And we are gated in the fact you can't just go up 130 floors in the tower and complete it in like 2 days. If you were able to do it, you have to slow down. Now, I sat back and thought about that because that was a big point of contention. I actually think it's better that way, the way they're doing it now, because everybody can progress. at a similar pace, because let's say you're a humongous whale or humongous kraken or whatever you want to call everybody here, right? They complete the thing in 2 days, but it takes, Johnny free to play takes 6 weeks to complete the thing, or not even 6 weeks. He takes the whole month, doesn't even complete it at all. This kind of levels the playing field a little bit, where they're not going to be so out of balance where one person can just do it so quickly and another person takes forever to do it. It gives a little bit of a balance to it. Now, I still think the whales are obviously going to have an advantage, and they should. Don't get me wrong. Whales, krakens, if you spend money on the game, you absolutely should have an advantage. I don't know why you would why you'd spend money if you don't get an advantage, right? So it's actually pretty cool, though. And then you got the boss levels. So we've kind of seen a lot about this. We all kind of know about the teaser with this as well. And then here's the artifacts that they finally released. Now, at first I thought, meh, right? Like that was my reaction to it. However, I'm actually excited for this Fatal one now. It's 2 artifacts per two artifacts per set bonus. So you can have all 6 and it's 3 set bonuses. So in this case, it would increase your crit rate by 15%. So I was thinking, okay, well, it might not be as good as Cruel. You can lower the crit rate, but you could stack a hell of a ton of crit damage. So I kind of like it because ignore defense. Okay, you're losing some ignore defense if you're versus going 6 Cruel pieces. Most people don't go full 6. You're going to use some speed or something in there too anyway. But let's say you did go full 6 and you have 15% extra crit rate. Now you've got a lot more room to stack extra crit damage, because it becomes very hard to stack crit damage and crit rate without really good gear. So I think this makes it kind of more accessible, and I'm actually going to use this set. I like it. This next set, Untouchable, as well, I like as well. So this will be from the Scarab King. 40 resistance plus immunity for 2 turns. It's immunity. The immunity set already does this. It just adds the 40 resistance. So this thing is absolutely amazing. I'm curious how fast you can farm sets up, because Fire Knight and all immunity is still going to be in play. This may take quite a long time to farm up useful gear that has good substats and everything from this, because we all know how hard that is. So what I would hope is maybe there's enhanced enhanced substats, because it seems to me the rarity of this gear is going to be pretty high, because you can only complete 10 stages per day roughly. I'm not 100% sure, but it's not like every day you can go in and farm this gear. There's only going to be certain days of the Doom Tower you can farm certain pieces, because depending on what level of the Doom Tower you're at, and it's going to take you a while. So I don't know if that's on purpose. Maybe it takes you 6 months to farm up enough gear like this. And maybe that's the whole point, to keep you engaged to do it and everything too. Okay, the next thing is Affinity Breaker. Sounds interesting. It's a 30% crit damage, 20% to deal a critical hit instead of a weak hit if they're negative affinity. So, if you're Trunda versus Canderfron or something like that, or Canderfron versus Valkyrie, whatever, right? It's I don't think I'm that excited about this one, though. I mean, it's okay. That's how I feel, right? Meh. I do still feel kind of meh about this one. This one I actually feel like could be kind of interesting, because it's 2 pieces, and the more pieces you equip, the better your freeze chance gets on Frostbite. But it's a 15% chance to resist freeze, and it's also a 10% chance to place freeze, which increases to 45%? Wait, well, that's the top end of it. Okay. Increases to 30% at the top end of it. So with 30%, maybe that's kind of a low chance. I mean, it seems like it could be interesting. So, and then the champions. So at first, again, I looked at these champions and I thought, man, they don't seem that exciting. However, I'm wrong. That's how I feel, right? I feel like these champions are actually pretty good. This Thea, the Tomb Angel, with Hex, I'm excited to try for this. Now, you have to be competing in hard, which I'm going to imagine is actually pretty damn hard. The way they do these things, and every game that I play like this comes out with this, is every piece of new content is extremely hard. So if you are, Johnny free to play, don't expect you're getting this one for quite a while. Doesn't mean you're not going to get it. It just means you ain't getting this before Manable Gaming does, right? Manable deserves it quicker. I'm just telling you. I'm just giving you the the lay of the land, right? So it's a 2-hitter, 75% chance. What I'm imagining you can book up to a 100% chance to do a hex debuff for 5 turns, right? And each crit decreases the cooldown of this not on the world, which does a perfect veil, not of this world, does a perfect veil for 3 turns and grants an extra turn. So that's pretty damn cool. A 3-turn perfect veil. When you ascend this skill too, the hex can't be resisted. Same thing, it's just unresistible at that point too, right? And then it's pretty amazing. So Hex doubles damage. The only thing in the game that has it is Minotaur. That's it. So when a Minotaur puts a Hex on you, it doubles his damage against you. So what you'll be doing with this champion is you'll be doubling your damage against the other team, right? I mean, essentially, like, decreased defense kind of does that, but this is a little bit different. There's pure damage. Will increase your damage by 2, right? So times 2, whatever your damage you're doing. And then you put the Hex on there. And then this Hex Reaper seems like it'd be pretty cool. 6 turn cooldown, though, but it stacks up to 300%. But her damage increases, I think this is her, by 50% for each Hex debuff on the enemy team. So, pretty amazing. You got a full team of Hex out there. If there's 6 on the other team, then it's, obviously fully 300%. I don't know if maybe some waves will have 6. But but that seems like that thing has the potential, depending on what the multipliers are, to just be, a freaking train wreck coming through, jackknifing off the, Amtrak runaway train, basically. I mean, seriously. And then this Cruel Angel passive, 50% of placing a True Fear on all enemies for 1 turn when an enemy loses 30% or more of their max HP in a single hit. Which you could imagine a lot of this stuff would do that. So I actually think she is going to be absolutely amazing. That is going to be the top end hero. I think the creme de la creme of what you're going for Doom Tower is this right here. Or maybe Euros because he's Void. But I feel like this is the best one. So Gomlock, Skyhide. This guy's pretty interesting too. A 1-hit attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing a leech for 2 turns. 50% chance of placing a leech for 2 turns on 2 random enemies if the champion has full HP. Then this Fateful Trickster attacks one enemy, 60% chance of stealing 2 random buffs from the target, 60% chance of decreasing the turn meter by 50%, and steals 50% of the target's turn meter instead if this champion has full HP. So if he has full HP, it's pretty amazing, right? Now, there could be an argument, because we all play this game on auto, that you might have to manual some of this stuff to really get the best potential out of it. A lot of other games I played recently, you do manual things you actually play the game to maximize what you're doing. You can't just mindlessly press auto. Now, this is such a time-consuming game, I don't know if that's going to continue, but I sort of feel like you could set this guy up to be really good if you had like a little heal or something he got, and then all this stuff there too. So anyway. And then he does an AoE that hits twice, and each hit has a 75% chance of doing decreased defense for 2 turns, so that's great. And then the first hit on each target has 75% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. So he's doing decreased defense plus decreased turn meter. And then the second hit also 75% chance of placing a weakened debuff for 2 turns if he has full HP. So it's a champion that does AoE, decreased defense, and weaken. Now there's a little bit of parameters behind it, but we've got Lydia, Dracomorph, Venus, and now this guy that do AoE, decreased defense, and weaken. So it's pretty amazing. Whenever 4 or more buffs are placed on the enemy team in a single turn, places a shield buff on this champion for equal to 15% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Okay, that's pretty interesting. I mean, it gives you an extra benefit if they're getting a bunch of buffs, so they punish themselves a little bit. I kind of can see a lot of uses for this guy. I mean, I'm interested to try him. I feel like he could work in Clan Boss because of the Leech even too. So now the buffs, now even Arena as well for sure, and Dungeon Clearing too. So I think this guy has potential to be pretty S tier actually, in my opinion. Now, I'm trying to be positive too because I was super negative reading this stuff before, and I've just had a bad taste of Raid because I'm kind of in that stage where I need a little bit of a break. So this is a perfect time for me to do that until Doom Tower actually comes out. So anyway, I'll keep going. Euros the Soul Cage. One hitter, which places a shield on equal to 10% of his max HP. This shield value increases by 1% for every poison. This guy's kit is pretty interesting. Aurelius, if you're watching this, I know you're in love with this guy, and hopefully he's everything you hoped. Let me know in the comments if he is, if he's not, if this doesn't work because the cooldown is a little too high over here, which I think that might be the problem. But anyway, let me know either way. And then he has this fetid eruption. Okay. AoE, 75% chance of decreasing turn meter by 15% of enemies under one or more poison. Also, 75% chance of placing decreased speed of enemies under 2 or more poisons, and a 75% chance of placing stun on enemies under 3 or more poisons. So, even though he does poison in his own kit passively, if you paired him with like a Xavier or something who's just spreading poisons, like, that's actually pretty cool. Someone who could do a bunch of AoE poisons, like 2 to 3 poisons. Even that guy Taurus, right? He does, 4 poison debuffs? So Taurus and Euros, I think, be kind of interesting to see what happens with some of this stuff. And then places a 25% strengthen. Oh, okay, and this Elemental Conjurer guy, who they changed a bunch of their names. This skill instantly activates if he is revived by Elemental Conjurer. So kind of cool. A lot of these are actually... It seems like they want you to build a team around them. So when you get them, you're not just using them for just them, but you're actually building a full team, which I gotta admit is kind of a fun way to do things too. Like, instead of just one character, like, let's actually bring out a full team of people that have synergies together, right? So I kind of like that. I actually do like that, where they have kits with synergy with other people. So anyway, places a 25% strengthen buff on all allies for 2 turns, and an ally protect buff on all allies except the champion for 2 turns. That is pretty cool. I'm assuming it's going to go down to a 4-turn cooldown. So if you were going to use him in Clan Boss, you would have to actually increase his speed to make him go cycle, the 3-to-2 ratio or whatever it is there. I don't know, whatever ratio it is, where he's actually going more, and this technically would be on a 3-turn cooldown because of that. Call the Cage passive. When attacked, is 50% chance of placing poison debuff on the attacker for 2 turns. So you just attack him, and he's going to, put poison on people. Whenever an ally is attacked while under strengthen buff. Now, this is just a random thought, so I was just thinking provoke gear. Because I don't think he has a provoke in his kit. Oh, no, he does have a provoke right here. Whenever an ally is attacked while under a strengthen buff, has a 50% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Okay, if the ally has a strengthen buff. So if you do have that, that's good. But I was also thinking, because you want him to get hit, and he's an HP champion, so if you could build him kind of tanky, and maybe you put him in a provoke set, actually, too. Now, this is just thought, theory crafting thought. You put him in that provoke set, and then he's getting hit more often, his poisons are going to come out more. Just an idea. That's it. And then increases his champion's max HP by 5% whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by that champion. Wow, that's interesting. So his max HP is actually going up every time damage. That's amazing. That's pretty unique. I don't even think something like that exists in the game. His HP is going up by 5% every time a poison debuff. This is actually making me think he might be amazing for Clan Boss because of that too. Whenever an enemy receives damage from a poison debuff placed by this champion, also decreases their max HP by 5%. Well, that's not going to matter in Clan Boss. But these decreased HP, I would really love the raid developers to actually show us what they're intending with this stuff. Like, what are you trying to do with that? Like, nobody really gives a crap about decreased max HP or uses it to any form of effectiveness. It feels like it's kind of one of those things that's just there. Like, I've never gone into a battle in raid and being like, oh yeah, I decreased that guy's HP. That's really what went me to battle. No, never once have I said that. So that, I think, I really wish we could get some more developers that would show us the actual gameplay and development. Like, I don't think they're ever going to do this. But when I played Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, and granted, they have big time issues too, but they would actually show the developer content as far as their own testing and everything goes, with what they were trying to do and what their thoughts were. Now, their thoughts weren't always perfect. The community always makes things where the players actually enhance how these characters work. But what was that developer trying to do? What's the point of decreased max HP? Why is it in so many kits? Are we not unlocking something that we should be, or is it just there to put lipstick on a pig type of thing? Which probably that's the main reason it's there. Smoke and mirrors. But anyway, all right. Cannot decrease a single champion's max HP by more than 25% one battle. Will not decrease his boss's max HP. Cannot increase his champion's max HP by more than 50%. All right. Ally resist in all battles by 80. All those legendaries I'm pretty excited of. Now here's a bunch of things where, and he's not a demon spawn, he's undead. They did fix this on the post. Royal Archmage. So Royal Archmage is after the patch release, the name of his champion will be Archmage Helmet. I think I like Royal Archmage better. Archmage Helmet. That's just kind of a funny name. All right. Maybe because of his helmet here. All right, but I actually like what he does too. So these will be the champions if you're on normal you will get. The champions we just looked at, which how many was there? 1, 2, 3. Those are the champions in the hard mode. So hard mode are the legendaries. Now these are the champions in the normal mode that you go after. So most players will be able to access these guys more, right? So one hitter fills his champion's turn meter by 10%, fills a turn meter by 20% if it crits. Not bad. One hitter also attacks, those are AoE if it's a crit, with a 50% chance to do a stun for one turn, and then after attacking, decreases turn meter of each enemy without a stun by 20%. That's a pretty cool thing, because it's actually an AoE, if you build him with crit, right? Then he has a chance to stun, which probably gets booked up a little bit to, let's say, 75%, I'm going to guess. And it goes to a 3-turn cooldown. And you're decreasing turn meter. So this is another interesting thing that's not in the game right now. Stun with decreased turn meter on an AoE ability in a champion. So kind of cool. I mean, I do see some of this stuff being better than what exists in the game if you think about it. If you just slow down, read it, and think about it. Plus, he actually does this buffing, increase speed, increase crit rate, increase crit damage on all allies for 2 turns. It's a mini, like, Machelet ability. Nowhere near as good as that. But this is, like, a lot of... I'm not sure if he does crit rate. I think he does crit damage increase. And I don't think he does increase speed, actually. So it's a little bit different, actually. A 5-turn cooldown. So this is pretty damn good, I feel like. An immune to turn meter decreasing effect. So his turn meter cannot be reduced, which is pretty nice. And ally speed in arena by 17. You're not really going to use that unless you're a newer player or you don't have any other speed lead or something. That's pretty low, I feel like. Inferno Golem, who's going to be Akoth the Seared. Whatever. Decreased crit rate as A1. That's pretty underwhelming. AoE, very low chance, 20% chance of doing HP burn, but increases by 20% for each alive enemy on a 3-turn cooldown. So this, I'm imagining, is going to go to a 2-turn cooldown. So you'll be able to basically have a permanent HP burn up, which would be cool. And then an AoE here, 50% chance of increasing the cooldowns of all skills by 2. So he's like a mini warlord, right? On enemies under HP burn, and also places a shield equal to 20% of his max HP on all allies for 2 turns. That's pretty damn good. On a 5-turn cooldown, instantly activates when he's revived by this elemental conjurer guy. And then his passive 10% chance of placing fear whenever HP burn, whenever damage is taken by an enemy with HP burn that he's placed. And HP in all battles by 25%. I mean, to be honest, that seems pretty top tier to me too, actually. I mean, he seems sort of like Tyrant to a degree, but Tyrant is like a little different, but this is actually like really good. I don't like his A1. The rest of the stuff is good. I mean, I think his A1's kind of pointless, like decreased crit rate. Man, that's not going to do much. All right. By the way, let me know if you've made it this far, if you like it with no green screen or with the green screen better. I actually tried to do it with no green screen today because I'm just like, you know what? No big deal if I show the background and stuff. So I think sometimes it's just like a little bit of a distraction the way my green screen was set up and how I had to use it because I have limited space. It's not one of those big green screens. It's just one that sits on my chair. So it looks like real wonky. I'm using a background removal thing. So I think the clarity of the camera is actually a little bit better if I do it this way. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, if that's true or not, because depending on what you think, I would actually go that route. I may actually get an Elgato green screen as well, the one you just fold up and down. Anyway, I'm getting real off topic here, so I apologize. And we're getting long-winded, but hey, this is a lot of information to digest. So if you made it, thank you very much. Elemental Conjurer here. He has a 1-hitter 50% chance of block buffs for 2 turns. Okay. 75% chance for, so this will be booked up to 100 with a 3-turn cooldown, I'm sure. But he does buff strips. He's a stripper, right? He's a hot looking stripper. Rian the stripper. Anyway. Also a 75% chance of weaken. Okay, that's okay. Doesn't do the decreased defense, but the weaken, that's not bad. But he does do buff stripping. Revives a dead ally with 50% HP, then fills their turn meter by 50%. Pretty nice. Places block debuffs on them for 2 turns. Will revive Euros and Inferno with 30% HP on the same team and not the target of the skill. So if you have them on the same team and you revive someone else, it revives them as well, but lower HP. Will then also fill their turn meter by 30%. If you make them the target of the skill, it increases that number to 50% and places a block debuffs on them for 2 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. That was what I was talking about with the team synergy. Kind of interesting those 3 have some type of team synergy together as well. So anyway, there's also going to be competition where the first 10 floors, global, and your clan. Kind of interesting. I'm interested to see how that works out, make it a little fun competition too. So I am actually getting excited for this now. Just reading through this, looking at this, I'm getting excited for Doom Tower. And I think it's actually a good time for me to just chill a little bit on Raid and play some other games so I can get my head clear as well. Now, this is actually the new Christmas Fusion. Pixneal. I don't even know how to say this. Pixneal? Pixneal. Yeah, I'm going to go with Pixneal. Okay, it's High Elves. There's no Dwarves. We're getting flooded with the same factions we always get flooded with, which kind of sucks. But I'm just going to take that for what it is. Okay, 1 hitter, 30% chance of placing a Veil. Cannot place the Veil on her. Just a random ally. Okay, kind of RNG. Not that great, but okay. Places increased defense and a continuous heal on all allies for 2 turns. Then attacks all enemies under freeze debuffs. And places weaken for 2 turns on all enemies under freeze debuffs on a 5-turn cooldown. Not bad. I kind of like that. So they increase defense with the heal and a little bit of extra utility with the weaken. I do like that. Icicle Barrage, 5-hitter. Each hit has a random. Maybe better if this was an AoE. 5 random hits is weird. 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff for 1 turn. 100% chance of placing freeze on enemies that have 2 hits. So if you luck out and the 5 random, 2 of them goes to somebody, they're going to get frozen no matter what. This is an interesting partner passive. Enemy places a freeze debuff on an ally, 20% chance that she steals the debuff from the ally and places it on herself. So it's kind of like, why would you want to freeze yourself? But 25% chance of filling the champion's turn meter by 25% every time they receive freeze. So it'll increase her turn meter, but also a 35% chance of removing the freeze at the start of every one of her turns. So if she does steal it, gets frozen, then she has a slight chance to just remove it from herself as well. And if there are multiple champions on the team with the skill, only 1 will activate. Increase ally resist in all battles by 80. I could see her becoming an interesting niche type thing, but she's not going to be Tormund. That's all. I could be wrong. She's magic. It's not how we had last Christmas Tormund. This is not as good as that. I don't think they ever do that again. They're not making a Tormund or a Rhodos again. I don't think they want fusions to be that overpowered. They want them to be the things that everybody can kind of access and have a little bit more niche. Or they're good, but not the best. Understood. Yakrill, the Scourge, and I apologize for the length of this video, but hey, like I said, a lot to digest. And I'm just going to keep going because, believe it or not, I'm having fun doing this video. So a 2-hitter, each hit has a 20% chance of placing freeze for 1 turn. Will ignore shield if there are 1 or more enemies under freeze. Will also ignore block damage if there are 2 or more enemies under freeze. Will also ignore 30% of the target's defense if there are 3 or more enemies under freeze. Not in love with it. I mean, it's good, but it takes a big setup for freeze. Maybe if you use this girl, and she has this 5-hitter freeze. But like I said, if this was an AoE freeze, that would be good. Like, who does AoE freeze? Like Shiramani, does she do AoE freeze? Could be interesting to pair with someone like that. Or the other Void guy, Gurgo. Gurgo does AoE freeze. So his A1 would get more utility if you paired him with someone like that, right? Blizzard Rider attacks one enemy, 75% chance of placing decreased speed for 3 turns, 75% chance of placing freeze for 1 turn. Okay. Steals 100% of the target's turn meter and places 30% increased speed on the champion for 3 turns. Interesting. All right. I mean, maybe I'm thinking the freeze won't work, but Okay, the turn meter steal. I was thinking Fire Knight, but the freeze is useless there anyway. You can't freeze the boss. Well, I do wonder, can you freeze these bosses? Because it seemed like you could provoke them in some of the stuff we saw in the data mine. So I'm curious, these new bosses coming out of it, maybe you are able to freeze them, stun them even. Maybe that would be kind of neat if we could actually do things that we can't do against other bosses, like stun, freeze, kind of put some more utility. It would change up the dynamics of how you would think about things, which would be kind of cool. So anyway, Glaciate attacks one enemy 3 times, and if the target's under a freeze, removes the debuff after attacking and places it on all enemies except this initial target. Okay, we'll also attack all enemies except the initial target after the 3rd hit. I gotta admit, there's too much going on in this kit. It's pretty damn confusing, and that just could be because I'm just reading through it only for the last couple times, but it just seems like there's a lot of things you need going on. He seems good, but like too much like if this, that, and the other thing. Decreases the damage this champion receives by 10% and increases the damage this champion inflicts by 10% if there are 1 or more enemies under freeze. Increases champion speed by 15 and resist by 50 if there are 2 or more enemies under freeze. Places unkillable on this champion for 2 turns whenever there are 3 enemies under freeze. God, ally attack and Doom Tower by 43%. Okay, maybe he's meant to be Doom Tower. Like I was just talking about, you can freeze, maybe freezing the waves. Depending on what you compare with him, I would take a Gurgo in with him, is what I'm thinking. Achak the Windaren Demon Spawn. These names are crazy, actually. The next guy's my favorite name. The total rip off. You guys have all seen it, right? Anyway, 1 hitter, 30% chance of decreasing the duration of 1 random buff if the target's under HP burn. Also has 30% chance of decreasing the target's meter by 15% if they are under freeze. Okay. Places block debuffs on allies for 1 turn and 25% strength on all allies for 2 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. Maybe you can book 2 or 3, but probably a 4-turn cooldown. And then you have to increase his speed, and this could be pretty good in certain clan boss setups, maybe even a CA setup. AoE, 75% chance of play. Oh, AoE freeze. There we go. These two could go together. 70% chance of placing freeze debuff for 1 turn on enemies whose whose attack is higher than their defense. 75% chance of playing HP burn for 1 turn on enemies whose defense is equal to or higher. Well, that's pretty interesting. It's either going to do a freeze or a burn, depending on the setup there. I don't love those skills because I'd rather just you have a predictable skill, know what you're going to get, instead of... Sometimes there's too much RNG, right? This is a little too much RNG to me. And we get a lot of if this, that, and the other thing, right? Twisted Hunger heals all allies by 5% of the max HP every time an enemy is under HP burn debuff. Gets a turn. Wait, what? Heals all allies by 5% of their max HP every time an enemy under an HP burn debuff. Okay. Oh, wow. So every time an enemy gets a turn, it's going to do a heal. Plus a turn meter fill if someone has a freeze. An allied defense. Interesting. Out of all of them, probably one that I'm just saying he's okay, but he's pretty good still, right? So these are, by the way, these, besides Pixnil, I still get these are all Pixnil's a fusion, and these 3 are just summonable by shards. So they're just normal champions that they're just adding. And then here is the creme de la creme. Why don't they just make him some type of fusion for Christmas? Grunch Killjoy. Gee, I wonder where they got this guy from. I mean, if this doesn't look like Jim Carrey and the Grinch, I don't know who does. Oh man, this is the Grinch all day long right here. So 40% chance of placing block buffs for 1 turn. Not bad. I like these block buffs, block debuffs, block cooldown skills. I think these are undervalued skills. AoE, 50% chance of placing bomb debuff that detonates after 1 turn. I actually like this guy too. So it's a bomb type guy, obviously, right? But he removes all debuffs from all allies, so he's a cleanser, and then places 1 continuous heal for 1 turn on each ally for every debuff removed from them. So more debuffs removed, more continuous heals you will get. And then he fills a turn meter of all allies by 10% whenever a bomb debuff detonates on an enemy. So any allied defense and faction wars by 30%. I actually think this guy's kind of cool because it does have the bomb stuff, but also the fact that he does cleansing. I like cleansers. I just kind of like some of that stuff where they're more the classic mechanics like that. Anyway, and then, I kind of forgot about this already because this part is a little bit underwhelming. Artifact rebalancing. Literally all they did was take the percentages and increase them on pretty much every single one of these things. So they're still going to be mostly useless. Someone in the comments put it the best way below. If you are actually watching this video and you made this comment, let me know below, because it was pretty hilarious. They said all you did was take the dog poop that was in your yard and move it to the next or another section of your yard. It's not like you actually cleaned it up. You just put it somewhere else. Anyway, so this is a pretty low chance. I mean, this, I guess, is a 15% continuous heal every turn. Okay. This is just completely pointless. It doesn't even make it better. It needs to be a 5% poison. Like, no one's using this because 2.5% poison is useless, especially when you're at the end game. No one cares about a 2.5% poison. I feel like no one past Easy Clan Boss cares about a 2.5% poison, or normal maybe. 40. Now, this one I actually might find some value in. 40% up from 30 chance to reduce random skill by cooldown by 1. So that is actually a decent increase. So if you ran it on, like, let's say you had a Skull Crusher and you're running this, his counter attack could go off of cooldown more often. You want to run it like on, just champions that have an active skill and a passive skill, or active, like an A1, A2, and a passive skill, not A3. So Avenging, I kind of didn't understand this has no damage penalty here too. What does that actually mean? But hey, whatever. 30% chance to counterattack. Meh. 45 now. Max HP by 4. Here's the whole thing with decreasing HP. This is still going to be blah. Now, I did think about this set that, like, okay, heal reduction. Maybe if you were an early game Fire Knight player, this actually could have some value, this set. Fire Knight and for Spirit Keep. And it's 75% chance to do 50% heal reduction. Okay. Nothing special, but okay. And then this is just complete garbage. I don't even know what the bonus heal means. Are you actively healing here? Is this just, if you get a heal, you get a bonus heal? Because that's lame. So nothing too exciting with these sets. The Doom Tower and the sets and the champions from Doom Tower really feel like the best things here. I'm going to end the video here because I've been talking forever. So please do me a favor. Please subscribe to the channel if you made it this far. I really feel the only people who are still here are the people who watch me all the time anyway. So thank you very much. If you're in the United States, for sure, happy Thanksgiving. Even if you're not, happy Thanksgiving from the United States, even if you don't celebrate it, whatever. I'm thankful for all you guys. Thankful for actually being able to, like, hang out with people and just have some fun doing a hobby, and that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.